And one, two, three. Breaking USC news. USC news, USC Trojans, Nobody Right USC podcast. They have a new, no more Mike Bone. We know Mike Bone is gone, but according to ESPN and other sources, the USC Trojans have hired a new athletic director, and her name is Jennifer Cohen. Jennifer Cohen was the athletic director with the Washington Huskies up there in the Pacific Northwest. So she comes over now to help run, probably in a really critical time for USC. They've been through the rigors as far as AD goes. They're looking for somebody to kind of solidify that situation there. So Jennifer Cohen, just reading right from USC. I'm reading right from ESPN. USC is set to hire Washington's Jennifer Cohen as the new school's athletic director. Sources told ESPN Cohen is one of the country's most established athletic directors and will become the first woman to lead the Trojans athletic department. So let's see here. She takes over USC at crucial time, which leaves for the Big Ten. Yada yada yada. We know about that as well. So should be fun. We'll see about that. We'll see what with Jennifer Cohen. Trading in all that purple and stuff. For the right side here. Either way, if she stayed in her old job, she would have been going to the Big Ten. But now she's really going to Big Ten because the school that started everything going to Big Ten is going to Big Ten. All right. Breaking news: Jennifer Cohen is now the new athletic director at USC, according to ESPN. Back to the show.
Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and as always, I am podcasting off the earthquake and hurricane shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, my X handle, whatever you want to call it, and is also the way you can get 10% off of activelyblack.com. Activelyblack.com. Their greatness is in their DNA. Activewear, sportswear, jogging pants, tights, whatever you're looking for. They got book bags, they got sneakers, whatever you need for your athletic lifestyle. Activelyblack.com. It has those outfits and those tools for you to help you get fit and all that stuff and look good at the same time. So they got a whole section, a whole Muhammad Ali collaboration. They got a whole Allen Iverson collaboration that he was rocking during the NBA Hall of Fame weekend, where Paul Gasol, Dirk Nowitzki, Dwayne Wade all went into the Hall of Fame a couple weeks ago. So check that out on activelyblack.com. So I had a whole bunch of stuff I want to talk about, but I'm going to roll right into this show, The Athletic. So The Athletic had some of their college football writers, whatever, a couple of them, come on their show and talk about, not that USC isn't a title contender. They said that USC isn't even close. They gave the argument that USC is not even close to the football playoff. So the main, the names were not disclosed of the writers, but I'll put that video in the link in the bio so you can of the comments. I want to hear your comments about this. That USC is basically not even a threat. That they haven't recruited well. They don't have the players. So let me just talk about this real quick. So if you are going to go out there and say those comments, it's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but let's just break this down real quick. He didn't even know that the Washington game was at USC. He's reeling off all these games, right? And he's telling you about all these games. USC not ready for prime time, not ready for the moment. not ready to, kind of take their take their program into prime time, if you will, right? Right. They're not ready for it. And he's not ready for his own broadcast because he doesn't know the USC schedule. Like literally 10 seconds. Like if you're gonna go on, like, because like when you're basically working for the we all have YouTube channels, but when you're working for the Athletic, when you're working for some of these other affiliates, ESPN, all these, Yahoo Sports, all those people, um, like that. I think the if I make a mistake, well, I got a lot of stuff going on in my life, whatever. I'm not, all stuff like that. But that's your job, dude. Like you got something else going on. Like your job is to talk about college football. And the fact that you didn't even know where the SC game was says a whole lot. It says that I am not going to pay attention to West Coast football. And that's basically what these writers are trained to do. They do not in any way prepare themselves to talk about West Coast football. Even though this last year in the Pac-12, my goodness, is going to be a fantastic one. But at the end of the day, they don't even have the 2 cents to actually, to prepare for their podcast in a way where they know the team's schedule. That back half of the schedule is kind of brutal. Like you could at least, kind of rip that off and say, okay, this is one of the reasons why, even if they're in your argument could be even if they're tremendously improved, right? I don't think they can get through that schedule. And then that's a fair argument. But when you come to your show and you don't know who they're playing and when they're playing that game, which is probably going to be the big game of the year in the Pac-12, at least one of them, then you lose. You go from up here to down here because you already have a preconceived notion of what USC football is going to be in the Lincoln Riley, and I'm not gonna like pay too much mind to what you say about the Trojans after that conversation. Then he goes on to rip through a bunch of transfer portal guys and all this stuff like that, and saying all this stuff like as far as like the transfer portal. This year's transfer portal, if you're gonna tell me you're gonna bring up some names, you'd bring up Jamil Muhammad, you bring up Jack Sullivan, you bring up a lot of different good names you bring up. The first name that comes to mind, obviously, for a lot of people, is Bear Alexander. And he did not even mention Bear Alexander. It's like, but Bear Alexander is wearing a Georgia Bulldog jersey this year. He's going to be preseason All American. If he's draft eligible, he'd be top 5. Right? Like that's what you're dealing with when you're talking about. That's why, like my show is important. That's why USCJ is important. Like a lot of these guys out here, greens are important. Shout out to greens with the new name, the Trojan Blade. You gotta love that. He has a good show on YouTube. Yeah, but like you cannot expect a national audience to give you what you need because they're just going to look. Here's a couple of numbers. I'm gonna spit this right back at you. I went to one game last year and that's it. Like literally, this team literally was a holding penalty away, a a um a clock management situation away from going to the championship. And with the way that CJ Stroud sliced and diced the Georgia Bulldogs, and came within inches of pulling off that upset, Caleb can't do that. Like, like, like for real. Like for real. Caleb Williams can't do what CJ Stroud did to Georgia. like they're comparable players. So this idea that like in that game, I think Harrison Jr. ended up getting hurt in that game. So you mean something he really couldn't have done that? You're crazy, man. You're crazy. I don't know how the season's gonna go. It can go a lot of different ways for SC. Um, Caleb Williams might not finish the season. Who knows how this whole thing goes? Knock on wood. But to say that they wouldn't have a chance against anybody when they have the best quarterback in the country, when you talk about their transfer portal defensive players and don't mention Bear Alexander, who is one of the best, who's one of the best guys in that situation. Like when you don't mention you don't mention that talent up front that they got with him and Keon Bars in your conversation, preconceived notion, preconceived notion. So, there's a lot of conversation about Alex Grinch and the defense, and we've all had those conversations with the defense, right? We've all had those conversations with defense. I would have said I might not have been as patient. I might have gone. I might have gone after Lynch or made. I'm sorry, Jim Leonard, and done that. Maybe not, but we'll see. I mean, SB plus is kind of that um that barometer to see where your defense is, and their SB plus is was 30.3 last year, 87th in college football last year. That's not good enough. But under this head coach, under this defensive coordinator, Alex Grinch, he has been 15th in SB plus. He has been 50 in the 50s in SB plus. So if you can get anywhere from there, you can't tell me that USC is not playing for a championship. Shout out to Reign of Troy Radio for those statistics. I want to make sure I give credit to where credit is due. They did the research. So I'm not gonna say like I did it. That's the bottom line. Like we can say this and that, and like you have another year in their system, veterans, and you also have a bunch of guys who have something to prove. And they're not. I mean, they're not sitting there like pulling out guys who aren't starters, who aren't big time, college football players. So that's probably. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like if you're gonna come at the Trojans, it's all good. Like I'm here for the fight because it's in the motto, fight on. But you got to come better, selector. You got to rewind and come again because that's not the fight you want to have when you don't even know the schedule and you don't mention one of the biggest recruits in college football in Bear Alexander. All right, Trojans. Game day is a couple days away, man.